Now who wanna move close enough? Now who wanna move out of? If you got stripes and you let the city know you rock 'em, yeah, we got 'em, yeah, we fought 'em. Like that black and orange up on 'em. Single bottle, never stop it. To the beast and load 'em. Who they rockin' with the diamond stripes? Flossing on the ring. Cincinnati, she's our queen. We gon' show the world.
What's up, everybody? This is Ted Karras of the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cincy Hat, and you're watching Bengals and Brews.
Yes, sir. Got to support my guy, Ted Karras. Got the Karras 316. Got the Cincy hat on today. So got to show Ted Karras some love every now and again back, you know.
I love that. That's awesome. I actually, and I told you this like on the stream, I don't know, maybe the beginning of the summer, with that really super deep Dynasty League. I've got Ted Karras on there.
Yeah.
I actually just traded him away.
Oh, my God. How could you do that? After all of
it did hurt. I really like Ted Karras. I've got Cam Jurgens as well, and the youth, the skill, and it's just like, Ted Karras, I love you, and you were awesome for like the 5 years.
No love for the vet. Just had to get rid of the vet. Said you're getting up there. I'm going with the new young thing, and Cam Jurgens just dropped him.
I got some cash for him for some free agency stuff, and it's just like I didn't want to. But the offer was pretty good, and the guy that picked him up actually had Mitch Morris, and he's like, "Well, I'm kind of screwed right now after his retirement." So yeah, definitely a roster move that had to be made. But Ted Karras, you'll always have a spot in my heart.
Yeah, you got to respect it. But yeah, linebackers today, our summer scouting, and this will be the last one we do on Wednesday. We're both back to work. Life's a little hectic. Newt's coaching, a lot going on for both of us. We will try to finish and maybe do a condensed corner and safety, do like top 5 of each of those or something. We're going to talk after the show and on a weekend to finish this out. So if you want to go back and watch anything, we've done everything. Linebackers today, and then we'll try to hit corners and safeties at the end. But we've done every other position for summer scouting for anybody that wants to go back and check those out. It's on the Bengals and Brews YouTube. We would appreciate you giving a like and subscribe while you're there.
Please.
Yeah, I don't do that a lot. So, I figured I'd get one in, I'm not a big like and subscribe every show, but
I mean, I'm a whore for it and all the stuff I do with Owen, but as you've pointed out, I'm just loose in every part of my life. So, why condense it to just one?
Summer Newt is loose, but now it's time to tighten up, and you're not going to see Newt for a while on these shows. So enjoy him today and over these next week or so as he probably finishes up commitments that he's made. But, yeah, we're going to jump into linebackers. I want to start off by saying I love this linebacker class, and I don't even have guys that I could have in this class. I've got in 2027 Raylan Wilson. I've watched more of, scouted more of. I'm going to be adding him, and he's going to be in the top 10. He's not in this top 10. But he will be. And if you have a draft guide update, you've already seen that. But this list was made before I added him. But he's another guy from Georgia. There's a bunch of guys. Eli Medozi, who's transferring to Georgia, is a guy I don't have. I've got him in 27. A couple other guys. One that you do have in Austin Romaine, I believe, on your list. I have with 2027. And then Drake Bowen from Notre Dame, I have with 2027. So I love the guys I have. And there's going to be some more that I mentioned when we run down that are in this class that are not my top 10. But that's just a few I wanted to mention specifically because if you're like, where the hell is this guy or that guy? That's why I don't have them in my top 10. So I did want to mention that before we kicked it off.
I think just like with me, Jalen Walker last year was kind of a weird position. Was he an edge? Was he an off-ball linebacker? But like Jihad Campbell, he's a true linebacker, obviously, with the blitzing role. I think those two guys, if you're calling them linebackers, man, they were like that first-round talent all day long. Definitely deserve to go there. I don't know if this class necessarily has someone for me personally that's like there with that explosive game-changer ability. But for me, right behind them through, all of day 2, it is a thick group. And I do have one guy that's
and natural linebackers, like not to cut you off, but natural linebackers compared to the Jalen, maybe those guys were edge rankings, some of those smaller guys like R. Mason Thomas that we talked about.
Yep. Yeah. And so like these guys are like, they are true off-ball linebackers. And for me, I devalue the linebacker position a little bit when I'm putting it up against other positions. But for these guys still to, be knocking on first round grades and, in that top 35, that says a lot about you as a player.
Yeah. Yeah, I think top 100 could be littered with a lot of linebackers. Now, maybe like you said, they're not necessarily top 20 to 25 guys for most of them. Maybe you get one guy that ends up being a top 25 player. And I think that's open for a few guys to seize that opportunity to be that guy. But other than that, you're talking guys that second, third round, the day two could be hammered. And then the fourth round, early fourth round, you could see a ton of linebackers come off the board between rounds 2 through 4, I think, with this group.
Yeah, I mean, I've got 8. My top 8 are all in the top 100 for me. And obviously, I had more players that might, push a couple guys out. But to the point you're making, I've only watched 11 guys total. So,
yeah,
there's going to be guys that you're talking about that I'll eventually get eyes on. And it's just going to continue to grow that group. And I've really, really liked the meat and potatoes of this group, especially.
Yeah. I think it's one of the deeper positions. We talked about edge. We've talked about tackle at the top. I really like that talent. But linebackers up there. I like the safety class too that we haven't got to, but that's another class I like. So there's a few good positions, and the majority of it is on defense. I'll say that. I feel like this year now, obviously there's some good O linemen, but there's a lot of those guys that are underclassmen. So how that shakes out could kind of change my view on the O tackles as well.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of juniors. Heck, there's a redshirt sophomore in there.
Yep.
I mean, that we're talking about. I was talking about at least with the top 20. I think you were pretty close to that as well with Lomu.
Yeah, Lomu's right up there in that first round range for me. So it's and that's a redshirt sophomore this season. So that's how young these guys are.
Yeah, we're watching redshirt freshman tape on him. That's insane to talk about.
But, yeah, we'll jump into linebackers, not to go too long there. But, I mean, just a good little intro of our feelings in general about this class and these linebackers. And you just, right off the rip, I sent you this last week. I said,
the Conor McGregor.
I said, who the fuck is this guy? Who the fuck is this guy? Like, Red Murdoch, Newt's linebacker 10. I haven't got eyes on him. You just have to fill me in all about your love here for Red Murdoch. I love the name. I'll give him that.
Yeah, so Redmond, and a little bit of backstory with that. He is a Buffalo player, and Owen definitely got in my ear, and he's like, hey, I know that you have, like, Deion Crawford on your list, and he was kind of another weird one for me for, like, is he an edge? Is he a linebacker? He's like, but check out Red Murdoch. And we're talking about a guy that played next to Sean Dolak last year.
Yeah, Dolak.
And he's in the same room with Deion Crawford. And this is Group of 5 football. We're not talking about like Alabama or Georgia, but when you look at that group as a whole, Sean Dolak, Deion Crawford, and now Red Murdoch, they had some dudes last year in the linebacker room. So taking a look at Murdoch, the first thing that stood out to me as I did a really quick glance over PFF run grade 83.1 across the season last year. It's like, okay, I love to see that, especially when I'm looking at like a true off-ball linebacker. That, to me, is still priority number one. Are you able to impact the run game? 6'3", 240 pounds. I love the size. I can get on board with that. If it's 240 up, I'm there. And obviously, linebackers come in a lot of different flavors nowadays. But if I'm talking about a guy that can really be an interior linebacker, that's a guy that I want to see at 240 and up. So how he lands at 10 for me is, I think, beyond the just frame size, the fluidity in his game, the lateral quickness. When you start to pair some of those athletic components that really let a guy stand out and move around the field, to me, that's going to be something that says, okay, you can go above and beyond maybe what you've just shown. You have that athletic prowess to continue to grow and become a more impactful football player. I mentioned what you want as a baseline from that run defense. He's a really good run defender. Last year, he had an 11.1 stop percentage. And we talked about, the 10 and 20 mark for defensive ends. If you're double digits for your stop percentage, and I mean, that's your job as an off-ball linebacker. Obviously, you wear a lot of hats. It's a wild position to play, truth be told. But 11.1% stop percentage is absolutely insane to get to, and you're really getting the job done. And then one other thing, and I started doing this with I think it was linebackers that kicked it off. Tackles per snap. How often are you impacting the game? How often are you arriving at the ball carrier? He had 0.1 tackles per snap, meaning really every 10 plays he's making a tackle, which it's telling me he's where he needs to be. He's impacting the game. As a middle linebacker, I expect that number to be higher. But even for them, when you're hitting that, double digit, that 10% or 0.10, as I like to think about it, it's really, really impactful. So, those things, you take a look at all of them, the solid play in run defense, and then just a little cherry on top, he had 6 forced fumbles last year.
Ooh,
I tweeted out a clip of him, and it wasn't even him getting a forced fumble. It was him getting in on the play to the ball carry, and you saw the rip. Like, you see that active hand, and you see the mentality that he is always trying to, really blow up a play or create a turnover. And that right there, that's something I think that it comes with good coaching, obviously, which is why I think we're talking about, all 3 of these guys, Sean Dolak last year, and then Crawford and Murdoch this year. There's something really good going on in the Buffalo program, but also you have to take to that coaching. And I think Red Murdoch does that really well.
It's Owen. It's honestly Owen.
I know Owen paid me $50 to say all that.
But that's why they have all this talent right now. It's called Owen. Let's give Owen.
Well, he's not there anymore, so
I know, not now, but Buffalo's he got the talent. He got after those 2 guys you mentioned though, and Murdoch here, and the other one, Crawford. Sorry,
you gotta love it. No, I mean it's I love that piece. But he is, while he's fluid, he is slower. I've seen it in pursuit when he tries to get sideline to sideline. He doesn't necessarily have the chops to keep up. The pass rush plan, it really needs to improve in order for him to be, and as a linebacker, you don't want to talk about a guy as an early or a late down linebacker. You want to talk about a guy that's able to be on the field for, the entirety of those snaps. With him, if he's going to be impactful, he's got to be able to play all facets of the game. He's got to be able to rush the passer. He's got to be able to play in coverage. His coverage scores, okay. We're watching Group of 5 football. That's going to also be a detractor from it is, how are you standing up against tight ends and running backs that are, at Alabama, that are at Texas, that are at Michigan, that are at Ohio State. Those are going to be the things that you start to look at. You just don't have a sample size of him in those situations.
Yeah, and I know Dolak went undrafted, but he had some really good tape, and I think he's played good in the preseason, right? That's what I was going to say. I think this is a guy who, because you could say, well, I mean, you guys talked about Dolak, and this, that, okay, and he's proving to be right by talking about him.
He's gonna
as well.
Dolak is going to make that Rams roster, and he's going to probably be on the 2 deep depth chart. He's been climbing, and everything that McVay has said about Dolak has been just littered with compliments and praises. That guy, I mean, part of the thing is he played for Buffalo. He played for a Group of 5 conference. He balled out there. He did what he needed to do. So
Owen knows talent, and the NFL let this man go undrafted and didn't listen to Owen, who got this man to Buffalo, single-handedly made Sean Dolak who he is. Our guy Owen. Shout out love for Owen. Shout out Owen. Got to give Owen some love. Always giving you love on other shows, so give Owen some love on this one. Seems fair. My number 10 is Kyle Lewis, and one reason I haven't put Raylan Wilson in, because I wanted to have Kyle Lewis still on my top 10 for this episode. He's 6 foot 225. You hate that. You're like, damn, that guy is super tiny. Yeah. Well, he is, but Ivan Pace went undrafted because he was smaller. He was shorter. Ivan Pace was thicker. I'll give Ivan Pace that. But this guy is much more athletic than Pace was. Can't deny undersized at that weight. But you talk about splash play production, Newt. This is last season. 7 sacks. Well, I like that. And this is a player from Pittsburgh. Want to shout out the school. He's at Pittsburgh. 4 interceptions. I like that. And over 100 tackles on the season. So this is a guy who just makes plays. I think he's one of the best coverage linebackers in this class, period, point blank, which honestly you need to be when you're 6 foot 225, because you're going to be asked to be in a role where you're on that outside linebacker type of position, and you're going to be asked to stick with linebackers, stick with running backs out of the backfield. you're going to be asked to do a lot of things in coverage. I think he's alignment versatile. I've seen this guy kind of go out wide with wide receivers. Like, he's got the athleticism to stick with some guys on the outside at times. You got to put him on a tight end that's flexing out. He can do it. So there's just a lot of things I like about him. I think he's got a very high football IQ, which helps everything he does. It shows up in the plays he makes, the production he has. Obviously, with the size, you talk about a guy against the run. He's going to get washed out at times. The functional strength, those are all things, I wish he could put on a few more pounds, a little bit, whatever I could get out of this guy and still keep that athleticism and the ball hawking playmaking ability of. But his tape is really fun to watch. I don't know as a draft prospect if teams will love him because of the size, but I can't quit this guy, and I'm going to be rooting for him. And even if he goes on day 3, I just feel like he's somebody who's going to give everything they have to make a team better. So I like Kyle Lewis. Did you get a chance to get eyes on him? Or
I got a brief set of eyes on him. Nothing where I was really digging in, but I did a little bit of background in him. I mean, and I think obviously you go from collegiate ball to NFL. There's a difference, but this guy at his size, he still almost had a 10% stop percentage last year. Like, we're not talking about a guy that is, useless.
Oh yeah,
in run defense. He's still he still puts his ass out there and goes nose to nose. Obviously, there is a size limitation, but like he'll give everything he's got, and he does a pretty damn good job with what he's got.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of Kyle Lewis. I'm rooting for him. I hope he has another fantastic season, and we'll see what he can do. Your linebacker 9 is a guy I actually have with Raylan Wilson. He's at 12. Before Raylan Wilson added, he was at 11, so not too far out. But that's Harold Perkins Jr. from LSU.
Yeah, I think this is probably the most frustrating tape that I watched amongst this group. You're talking about a guy that
one game last year, just one game.
No, there was more than that. There was 4, wasn't there?
I
think it was 4.
Well, I clipped up one game. I know I clipped up one game, and I was so underwhelmed that I was like, I'm not even watching the rest. I'll just stick with the 23, and I'll let him start fresh this season for me.
That's the thing. I think so. That's the thing about him. So for those Harold Perkins Jr. going into last season, he was talked about as a top 20. 30 guy.
He was in everyone's top 50 for sure.
Yeah,
and
easily in everyone's top 50. And rightfully so. You talk about this guy and when he got to college football, 2022 freshman All-American, 2022 freshman All-SEC, 2022 second team All-SEC. So, doing it with the big boys at the point. 2023 second team All-SEC. 3-time academic honor roll as well for SEC. He's got a ton that he's building this momentum off of between his first 2 years. And then last year he starts off versus, I think it was USC the first. Yeah, USC was the first game. That was the
that's the one I clipped.
The Nussbus Miller. Yep.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, I thought the first 2 drives from Perkins, I was like, all right, he's got it. This is what I'm looking for. The instincts were there. I thought he flashed really well. There was a play that he completely timed and got to the quarterback. Moss ended up being able to pitch it off, and so he didn't get a sack for it. But it was blew up the play. But then everything just kind of started fading away, and he just really was not able to be as impactful of a player. It's so much so that by the 3rd game of the season, I want to say that's when they played South Carolina, they effectively moved him to that star or that jack role, whatever you want to call it, where he's more so playing in the slot, and he's really this roaming defender because they wanted his athleticism out there. They wanted his ability to pass rush, and they wanted to find a spot for him because they know he is such a talented player, but he just was not able to be impactful in an off-ball inside linebacker role. He's just kind of getting washed out. And obviously then the injury happens. He's able to retain a red shirt. So he comes back this year as a red shirt junior. And I based this realistically on those 4 games that I saw. I think it's a little bit harsh, but this is he wasn't hurt by injury. He was not playing, with kind of anything that he's missed off. These are the 4 games that he put out. And it was very underwhelming. Really high missed tackle percentage, over 20%. The stop percentage on run plays just wasn't there. The versatility is good, but like you don't get what you need from a linebacker is like that. Just, hey, I need a high floor as a run defender, and you don't necessarily get that.
It's good if he wasn't 220 also. It's like he's best as a guy that if you could just make him a pass rusher would be great, but he can't be a pass rusher because he's 220 and he doesn't hold up well against the run right now, but he's so athletic and he's got it's like
he needs to be like a nickel defender.
Yeah.
Like that might be, his path is as that like, and I think that's what LSU saw, but yeah, 6'1", 225. It's not going to get it done. The size is too small. The athleticism's there. The speed is there. Though, I mean, like he's a freaky athlete, but just the size and then the lack of production at all points of the game. Leave him here where he's not even in my top 100 right now.
And he's got the ability to actually shed a block and go make a tackle. If somebody gets hands on him in the run game, he just gets washed out too much, like you were saying. That is the biggest problem that you have because it's like he needs to be better. So I hope we see a big jump in that area this year. I don't know if we will, but that's what we need to see for me to feel good about him climbing back up the board. Yep. Honestly, right now, that's why he's outside my top 10. At 9, you have this guy at 8, so it kind of flows.
We do it all the time.
Yes, we do.
We do it all the time.
I got Lander Barton, Utah, a guy that's been mentioned in the draft process for a couple years now. 6'4", 236, so long, athletic linebacker. He's very good in coverage. He's good rushing the passer, but the production kind of has been down from his freshman year. I think he had several sacks, but not too much last year. I think it's another high football IQ guy. Good athlete. Like there's a lot of things he does well at the linebacker position. But he has had some injuries in the past. I know 2023, I think he got injured about halfway through the year, had to miss some time, but he came back last year, still looked pretty solid, but didn't look as good as he did as a freshman, which is why I was happy he went back to Utah and he's going to be there for another season. I think he needs it.
Can I tell you something embarrassing? I think I had Lander Barton on my board through like late February last year.
Well, he was the last one. He was the last one. I remember I would ask on Twitter because I'm doing the draft guide. He was the last person that there was never an announcement one way or the other. Okay. And then at some point it was just like, well, he's back at Utah because he wasn't on the declaration list. Yeah. But there was no announcement. So he was the last one I was waiting on. So I remember that.
I'm pretty sure I put something out there. And then Sam Teets was like, hey, heads up, Leonard Barton's not in the draft this year. And I was like, oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, because it seemed like he was going to go to the draft. And I would have thought even last year he would have been probably a mid-round type of pick player, third, fourth round area. I think this year he's got a chance to work his way up. But I'm putting him in at 9. I really like this class. Honestly, he probably would have been a little higher than 9 if he came out last year. But that's how much I like this class. And you've got him at 8. What do you like and dislike about Lander Barton?
I think you hit it really well. The frame and everything, the motor, what he can do as a blitzer. He's got to get off blocks better. That's priority number 1 as a blitzer. But he can be really, really special in that role. I think that he can be a little bit stiff. So you get some of the explosion and the acceleration, but laterally, I think he does have some stiffness to his game. Tackling's terrible. I mean, it was like 20.3 missed tackle rate last year. I want to say, and like watching the clips, he's just coming at guys with the shoulder and just trying to light them up, which I love the mentality and the aggressiveness of like, hey, I'm going to bury this guy, but do it with proper technique. I want to see those things go throughout there. This is the thing. I'm not trying to throw shade at Barton with this, but did you see anything about like his family at all?
I'm not sure.
He is probably the most underwhelming athlete in his family.
Yeah, there's several, right? Like Ben Barton and all that. Like that's all family, right?
So his father was a 2-sport athlete at Utah. His mother was a 2-time All-American in basketball in college. Both his brothers have now played in the NFL. His sister, possibly the best of all of them, 4-time All-American volleyball player at Utah. And Lander Barton is a phenomenal athlete. He is a good football player at Utah, and he probably has the most underwhelming resume of everyone in his family, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah, you talk about athletic family. I mean, Jesus, that's an athletic family right there.
Yeah. So I have him listed as a Sam. I'd love to see him as an outside linebacker that is able to play on that strong side, given pass rush opportunities, and hopefully he can develop to a little bit better technique in that run defense, in that tackling. I like him, though. I think, like you said, this is the start of what is this kind of fat portion of the group.
Yeah. He has a chance to move up and be, a linebacker 5 or so in this class. Wouldn't surprise me at all. He has the talent to do it, but like you mentioned, the tackling has to be more consistent. He has to get off blocks better. Those are big things for him this season. But the athleticism, the length, the ability and coverage is very, very good. His blitzing ability is really good. So there's a lot of pieces to like for a guy that's almost 6'4", 240 at linebacker. Now, on the opposite end of the spectrum, who does not have size, and I put this man with the linebackers because there was no way I could put him with the edge players, but he has played basically edge for Ole Miss. This man is 6'1", 210. 210. See, imagine how small that is for a linebacker. It's super small. This man plays on the edge in the SEC. He has no business actually being good, but he is just so damn quick and fast. I had to get him somewhere. I had to talk about him at some point just because it's kind of amazing that he is 210, plays edge in the SEC. And numbers-wise, he had 10.5 sacks and 43 pressures last season. What are we doing here? He's just so quick off the snap. His closing speed's insane. It's all athleticism, speed. I mean, that's everything, but it's another guy. He's 210 if you get your hands on him in the run game. So I hope Ole Miss, for his sake, it's kind of similar with Harold Perkins, and Harold Perkins has 15 pounds on this guy.
Yes,
but
that's the crazy part.
The thing is, Perkins was good on the edge as a freshman, but for his NFL future, you need to see him at linebacker. He's got to develop at another position. He can't just be an edge. That's not going to be his bread and butter. It's not the NFL. You're starting to see people run the ball more too. Like, it's just, you don't want him to have this fringe role. You got to play more linebacker. I got to get more value out of you if you're going to be a top 50 type of pick. So I need Perkins to play more at linebacker because he lines up almost exclusively on the edge for Ole Miss at 210 pounds. It's wild.
He does not have a home at the next
level. But I like him.
But
I like what he's been able to do. So
yeah, agreed.
It's more like a hope and a projection having him here at 8 on this list at linebackers. I love what he's done, and I'm like, man, can they develop him is the biggest question for me. All right, we'll jump into why you hate Sonny Styles.
I know it's going to happen.
You hate the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Oh,
I
man,
have Sonny Styles on my list, but he is not at number 7. I will say that.
Every time I have a Buckeye that's not at number 1, you and Heather just throw these giant fits.
No, I'm the one who's lower on these guys. Like we did the Ohio State episode. I was saying Davis Igbinosun. I got 3rd, 4th round pick. And then we got
800 penalties from last year.
And I'm like, it's so hard for me to give him. And then Owen's like, I love everything else about him. I'd rather a guy be more aggressive. And he thinks he could still be a 1st round pick. And maybe he can, but my God, 16 penalties is absolutely insane. But anyway, Sonny Styles. So I'm just saying, because if Crip's clearly not watching because I'd already be called a homer.
I won't spend too much time on him because I know you're going to get to him. This guy, he started as a safety at Ohio State, has since transitioned to a linebacker, obviously still retains some of those responsibilities of a safety. I think Ohio State does a really good job of moving him and utilizing him in a really effective way. Almost 20% of his snaps last year were at slot. He's getting a couple, I shouldn't say a couple, more than that, like 15% of his snaps as like kind of an outside linebacker with the ability to rush the passer or play some run defense. But over 50% of his snaps were in the box. He's playing that role. And to the point that I think you're going to probably make with him of a probably I think of everyone on this list, he has the largest amount of room to grow because he's so new to this specific position, because he's only been doing this for a season. And I think with that, what Sonny Styles brings as a coverage player is going to be something that just lets him be a really surefire option to have on defense, as like, hey, we can easily put him as an outside linebacker. And then you start to pair the things like his length that he brings for the position. So he's 6'4" and 3/8, 237 pounds. Those are verified. So sniffing that 240, and he didn't even have to lie about it. And then the length is there. You really like to see that. The athleticism, as you would expect as a convert from safety, phenomenal. Like, you see it coming up. He's fluid. Lateral movement is plus. And then I would be willing to bet this is why he made that transition. He's just willing to be an aggressive, like, downhill defender that is looking to meet a defender and light up a play. Like, he looks like he likes to hit people. And I love that from a linebacker. I want a guy to be violent. Now, why I have him here, I think he needs to become a little bit more of a true inside presence. I think that comes with time snaps. He's not there yet. Struggles to wrap up a little bit as a tackler, struggles to get off blockers. The coverage, I like. No picks last year, though. I would want a guy that's a converted safety to be able to come up with some more ball production. Maybe they're just not throwing his way when he's covering those guys. That could be something where I'm just like being too nitpicky. But I think that, like, all of those things are how you can continue to grow and where he's got a lot of room to grow, but he can. It's not like we're talking about a Perkins who's 6'1", 210, and I don't know how much he's going to change that. We're talking about a guy with great athleticism, great length, great size, that is relatively new to the position, that has an opportunity to really flow into that more.
Do you have his missed tackle rate? Because I don't have that down either. Overzealous ask how he is in stopping the run.
18.4%.
So you got to see that improve. Yep. That's not what you want. Yeah, obviously.
And I think that does, once again, like, you know, he's seeing things a lot quicker and kind of learning that. But yeah, the missed tackle rate's got to go down.
The tackle rate's bad, but I'll say overall stopping the run and being in on plays because of the athleticism, the instincts, firing to where he's supposed to be is pretty good. So I think that overall stopping the run is pretty solid, but there's another level that he could get even better at that this season, for sure. And then my number 7 is Amari Campbell, who is transferring to Penn State from North Carolina. This guy had 76 tackles and 6.5 sacks last season for North Carolina as a true sophomore. So absolute stud, 6'1", 230, good range, instincts, the things I love in a linebacker. He's got the ability to get after the quarterback, obviously, with the 6.5 sacks. So he's a pretty good blitzer. He disguises blitzes really well. He's got active hands to get in passing lanes, bat passes down, do all those things. You know, when maybe, hey, I can't get to the quarterback, but I'm coming, or hey, I see this. It's all part of the instincts. It's part of everything he does well. I think this guy could end up even higher on my list. It's only going into his true junior season, but going to Penn State, surrounded by a really talented team in general on both sides of the ball this year. I think Amari Campbell's stock could soar through the roof. And I'm a big fan of Campbell. It's just got to see it. And maybe he's a 27 guy, but he's a guy I put with 26. I've got so many guys. There's quite a few of these guys like that. Was Campbell one you've watched yet?
No, I have not gotten to him. He's on my list, but I haven't gotten a chance to check him out yet at all.
Yeah, I think you'll like him. He's pretty good. And like I think transferring to Penn State, they also have Tony Rojas, who I have in 2027 as well. But that linebacker tandem should be absolutely filthy for Penn State. That was a very, very good pickup for them that not many people talk about in the transfer portal this season. We will get into your number 6, a guy who's also on my list. I don't think he's super higher in this, but and I really like Deontay Lawson from Alabama, but he's injured right now. He's his verified size is like that I seen, or his size, maybe it's not verified.
It is.
I've seen as low as 218, and Alabama has him at 228, but he used to be listed at 239. So I've got some concerns, but I love the tape and the ability to stop the run. And you talk about him. You got him at 6. I got him a little
verified 218 pounds.
It's just crazy.
Yeah, 6'2" and 3/8. That's okay. Really, it's actually not that bad. The length is not bad either. 32 1/4 inch arms, but I really liked his tape.
I do too. I liked it last year. I thought he'd come out last year. I really liked this tape.
I look at him and he's a redshirt senior.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like he was there basically before Jihad Campbell bust onto the scene. And now he's there after Jihad Campbell's left. And I know he's a captain for Alabama. They trust him in the center of that defense. And there's a lot of things that, that defense does because he has a really good IQ. And I think that's one of the biggest things he brings to the table is he has an understanding for the game like few linebackers in this room are going to. I like him in coverage. I like him as a run defense. I think he's got a really, really high floor. My problem is I just don't know how much more we're going to see out of this guy. I think he does have like some lateral and like stiffness to him. I think he moves downhill well, which makes him a really good run defender.
Yeah. I think it shows up more in coverage. Like,
yes, I think and I think that his athletic skills allow him to stay with most running backs and tight ends. But you hit a guy with a little bit of wiggle, that's where he's going to be exposed because I don't think he's got that fluidity to really be a true coverage linebacker. I think that also, and I had this written down, and once again, he's a fifth-year guy. I think his vision is a little spotty at times. Like he struggles to find the ball, which if you are the centerpiece of my defense, I can't have you shooting the wrong gap, opening up the top of the defense, and maybe putting like a free safety in a one-on-one where you would be obviously the more desirable player to take that on. So I think that he's a guy, and we've used this with a couple others, but like what you see is what you get. I don't know how much more he's going to be able to do to continue to really elevate his draft stock because I think we've seen a smart player and one that gives you a good floor, but not necessarily one that has, that one or two traits that really will drive him up draft boards.
Yeah, I just really like the tape, but man, I've got concerns with the injury, the being a little bit older, the weight, 218 to 239. I mean, that's a big difference. And Alabama had him at 228, but the 218 is what came. And he doesn't play like it.
That
weight. He doesn't play like 218 against the run. He's the dog.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, and a guy I'll let you talk about more because you got him a little higher on your list. But Torian York, another guy who I just love, 6 foot, so he does not have. No, I love him. That's the thing. I love him. He's 6 foot, and it's probably a more apt comparison to a guy like Ivan Pace. And I know Pace was undrafted. He shouldn't have been. I had a third-round grade on him. But York being 235, 6 foot, the instincts, just knows where to be at all times. He was like a late add to the Texas A&M class as a 3-star recruit. They didn't want him. And he's the last guy they added right before signing day, and then becomes an immediate starter in his first season there. He's been a 2-year starter going into his 3rd season as a starter. He's put up great stats. He's a reliable tackler. He's a team captain. The awareness instincts are top of the class. He's just a little bit smaller, and honestly, 6 foot 235, when you're watching the tape, I thought he was even smaller, to be fair. He
does look really small on tape.
He looks small on the tape, so I don't know exactly what his actual size is. If he is that 235 or maybe he's up to it, but regardless, he looks short, he looks thin, and that's my biggest concerns with him. But
yeah,
damn, he gives everything, and he just the instant. It's a player if I was the GM and I'm in we'll say even the late second round, I would be like, I want that guy on my team. I know he's going to come in and probably be a starter from day one and just be a dog. Like, he's so athletic, so smart, so talented.
I agree. I totally agree. I think you hit the nail on the head with a lot of those elements.
I'll let you talk about him more. Austin Romaine is a guy having 27, so tell me about him from, I believe, Kansas State. Highly productive.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a guy that was top 50 last year in tackles, like total tackles across like all of FBS football. He is such an impactful player. I mentioned, tackles per snap, 0.12, about as high as anyone else in this class. Maybe, you get into like splitting hairs with that third decimal point, but he is to me that kind of shade of like a really old school middle linebacker that's just going to be able to step in. A little bit like shorter, I should say, like 6'2", 242. But that mass right there, at like plus 240, you like to see. He wears it really well. He looks thickly built. He looks like he's just ready to demolish the run, and he delivers. Like, possibly the best run defender in this class. There's a couple guys that I think could really push that a little bit, but he is such a dude. The thing is, like, this is kind of, what he is. Like, he played 99% of his snaps from the box last year. You're not getting a guy that you can move around a ton. You're not getting a guy that is able to do a lot of different things for you. You're going to get a guy that is excellent, elite at defending the run and like doing all the things right, meeting the ball carrier at the line of scrimmage, shooting the gap, moving downhill really, really well. I think he moves off blocks quite well. And some of that translates to pass rush. There's a clip I had of him where he gets in on a pass rush, is able to shed the block, and then just got a quick twitch to him to get a hand out, almost pick it off, but you bat the ball down. And then another one of him where he actually is able to make a really key interception on a pass rush. But all of those things are him moving downhill. I think once you get to like any lateral movement or any sort of, hey, I need you to play, zone coverage, I don't think he's that great. I actually think he's an okay man defender because he can kind of, move with the guy fairly well, and he's not being asked to do a lot of those lateral movements. But he's so damn good. And that's why I can't put him at number 5. He's just so damn good as like a true old school Mike that if you're looking for that and you need that on your team, go get Austin Romaine. Like maybe the guy at the top is a better run defender, but he's at the top because he's a better run defender and, all of these other things. Austin Romaine, a hair below that, but holy shit, is he really, really good still at it. He just maybe lacks in some of those other places.
Yeah, and he is at the top of my list for 2027 early on. So, like, if he's balling out like he has the last couple of years, and I start, so he's going to be, and I may just sometimes I just add a player because I can always take him out later. He's a guy that I could easily slot in. There's a lot of things to like as a run defender. So yeah, good player. Just don't have him quite slotted in anywhere yet. I have Whit Weeks at 5, 6'2", 225, had the dislocated ankle, broken tibia in the bowl game, which is why people were like, well, that's a meaningless bowl game. Why do you play? They get mad at people for not playing. Well, that's why. But at the same point in time, this guy is a competitor. This guy is a hair on fire, intense type leader for the LSU Tigers. There's a lot to like with this guy. The instincts, the physicality. I think he does have very, very good lateral agility. Obviously, being 225, you're undersized, but he doesn't really play like it and look like it. But against the run, I guess it does show up a little bit more because he can be washed out. He can be blocked by a guy coming up to the second level and getting him. I'm not sure what his top end speed is. I think a lot of people classify him as a good athlete. I think he's a good athlete, but I don't know if he's going to run super well. But he just diagnoses really well. The range, he's got the sideline to sideline range. There's a lot of things I like. And when they wanted to bring him for blitzing, he had 19 pressures last season. So a lot I like. I do think he's got to get better fighting through traffic specifically. Like sometimes, he'll kind of try to go around instead of through. and get where he needs to be. So that's something on tape that stood out to me that I'd like to see him improve. But very good player, another guy who has the eligibility that could be 2027, but we're putting him with this class and with another good season. No reason to think he couldn't even slide into late first round, early second round territory pretty easily.
Once again, like a guy that we've talked about, and I'll talk about him in a little bit, but there's a lot of growth and a lot of opportunity for some of these guys to be knocking on the door for that first round.
Yeah. And we've got a lot of the same guys here. So you've got Anthony Hill at 4. I do have him as my 1, spoiler alert. But
unsurprisingly, like
I know some people have him, like Matt Miller, who's a big Texas fan and works for ESPN, thinks he'll be an edge rusher instead of a linebacker.
I see, and I really like him. I think he's well-rounded, and I think that's one of the things where if you keep him as an off-ball linebacker, you allow him to do those things that make him dangerous. Like, I don't think he's necessarily the best pass rusher. I don't think he's necessarily the best run defender or the best coverage guy, but I think he does all of those things really, really well. He's a great leader on that defense. And then the athleticism at the position is something that, you're always going to gravitate towards because of that ceiling that it allows for you. The size as well, 6'3", 235 pounds. Starting point, athleticism, size, mass, all of those things are really good. I mentioned the IQ, the fluidity as an athlete, change of direction, and then what he gives you realistically in all 3 of those scenarios, whether it be pass rush coverage or run. He is so well defined. Like, there are things that he needs to improve upon. I think he is middling in pass rush. I mentioned that win rate only around 10%, could be a little bit better. I think he struggles to get off blocks, which is kind of what is a little bit of a detriment to that. And then he's just too reliant on his speed and quickness. If we can add a little bit more to that, we're not talking about an edge rusher that has to have this deep bag of tricks, but just something more than you just being a better athlete than everyone else. I like him. Everyone that has him at 1, I totally understand. I'm not going to take too much of the spotlight away from him, for myself, because I know you're going to talk him up, seeing as he's your guy.
Yeah, and I won't even with Lawson, who you had at 6. I've got him at 4. It's just the run defense. It's the instincts. It's the ability to get downhill. It's everything you said, and I just love the tape. I already mentioned my concerns, so I really am not going to spend too much time on Lawson here. I think he just diagnoses so quickly. He attacks so quickly, and he's just a dog when it comes to stopping the run. And I feel like there's always going to be roles for guys like that. I think the NFL is going back to a little bit more run. So I'm keeping him near my top 50, but I got to see, because, I mean, he had a late season injury, and I don't know how much time he's going to miss, if he's going to be ready, because they got Justin Jefferson, not the one from the Vikings, but they've got a Justin Jefferson who I've got as a UDFA type player right now, but he's the guy that's going to play a lot for them. They brought in Nakai Hill-Green, I think is his name, from Colorado. That's another guy that they brought in, I think, because they don't know how quickly Lawson will be back up to speed. So that's something I'm going to be monitoring, how quickly he's back, if he looks the same once he's back healthy. But I love the tape from last year, so I'm kind of sticking with that, with having him at 4. And then Whit Weeks, who I had a little bit lower, you've got him at 3.
Yeah, kind of like it feels like we just swapped Whit Weeks and Deontay Lawson. Not the same player, but with Whit Weeks, I think you hit the nail on the head for a lot of those things. Stats I'll throw out: 11.8 stop percentage, 18.2 win rate on true pass sets. Not on true pass sets, but 18.2% win rate in general. So, we're not talking about as an edge, but those are damn good numbers to have. I think the production's got to match a little bit more. I don't think his production, once he gets into the backfield, is necessarily game changing. So I want to see like that. You start to play really well, finish the play really well. But all the things that you mentioned, the athleticism was there. The top speed was adequate for me. I put it even a little bit above average, but he's not blowing anyone's hair off. But I think it's that athleticism. And truth be told, I don't want this guy unless he's sprinting to the sideline. I don't want him running at top speed, because I want everything happening in a compact 5-yard area where he's just able to dominate in that small box. But the other things that you mentioned, I thought really good. He plays with a Mike mentality. He's got to add mass if he's going to play as a Mike. Otherwise, you're probably looking at a strong side outside linebacker, one that's able to be a pass rusher, but also play some responsibilities as a run defender. I think he's okay in coverage, but that's definitely not his forte. At the NFL level, it might become a hindrance to him. It's just, where do you see him finding the most success? But I think what he gives you as, that basis of as a run-stopping linebacker, the juice he gives you as a pass rusher, realistically, like coverage aside, he's what I wanted Harold Perkins to be this year.
Yeah.
Like I look at him and I've got a higher versatility score for Whit Weeks than I do for Harold Perkins, because Perkins, he didn't even show like the chops really in any part of his game, let alone the most important part of run. But Whit Weeks is doing it, stellar at 2 levels. And he's at this point, decent enough to be a coverage linebacker for those running backs and tight ends. So a guy I was really surprised about. I love the way he plays his game. Super excited with those elements there. So yeah, Whit Weeks comes in at number 3 for me.
And Crip made an appearance after I said his name. He said his name, he appears. You had a chance to call me a homer earlier, and you'll have a chance again here in a minute. But it's not quite yet, because my linebacker 3 is C.J. Allen. And I have a clear top 3 right now, and I have gone back and forth on the order, including C.J. Allen. I've had it number 1. I love this guy. My top 3, I feel pretty good about as linebackers, which is one reason I love this class so much, because you give me 3 guys that I feel really, really good about that could potentially be late first round, early second round picks at the worst, because that's how I view these 3. Yeah, I feel good. This is Georgia linebacker, 3-year starter, only on his 3rd season. Georgia, all they do is pump out talent, especially on defense, especially at linebacker, and this guy's a 3-year starter. He's 6'1", 235, so that all checks out. Good measurements. He just now turned 20 years old in March, and he's already has 2 years of starting in the SEC, 20 pressures last year. So we were talking about Weeks being able to get to the quarterback. C.J. Allen can get to the quarterback, which is kind of a necessity when you're at Georgia, because they're going to bring you on the blitz. And we talk about missed tackle rates and guys that don't have them and that are bad. No, he's a reliable tackler. He has a 6.0 missed tackle rate last season. So this is a guy that there's just so much to like. His awareness against the run, the range, the instincts. I mean, I'm sitting here gushing about him, and I have him at 3. But I just go back and forth on the order I want to put these guys in. I've gone back and forth and back and forth. The biggest reason he's at 3 right now and not 1, 48.3 coverage grade. Even though he gets pressures, he has very limited sack production. He hasn't finished that well when he gets back there and gets some pressure on the quarterback. And then the splash play production in general has just not been there. Not a lot of forced fumbles, interceptions, not a lot of those things. It's just like, you're very good, and I really like you, and I feel good about having you on my football team. But show me more. I'm challenging C.J. Allen by having him at 3, basically, because I know he's watching. Of course he's watching.
Yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't you be watching this?
And then your number 2 is a guy I briefly talked about, so I'll let you tell us more about Torian York, the little Yorkie, because he's only 6 foot tall.
6 foot tall, 229 pounds, like you mentioned. I don't know if he's 29 pounds, but holy shit, does this guy fly around the field? That's the first thing I've written. Electric player, flies around the field, sideline to sideline. He's able to impact the game. You're running a jet sweep, you're running whatever it may be, where you're getting out away from that box. He's there. He's ready to disrupt. He's ready to look to blow a play up in the backfield. The athleticism for me is just so damn tantalizing with him. And like you mentioned, 2-year starter. He is undersized, under-recruited. He is a 2-year starter at SEC football program. Like, we're talking about a guy that has been a huge impact for that Texas A&M defense. And the things that, maybe like he's not able to, be a huge impact in run defense at his size. Oh, wait, over 8% stop percentage. Tackle percentage or missed tackle percentage below 10%, 7.4. At 6 feet tall. Like, he doesn't give a shit that he's got shorter arms. He is doing the things that he needs to set a high floor for himself. You add in then on top of that, the athleticism that he brings, the ability to be a pass rusher with the electric quickness that he has, and then just that natural ability. Coverage is okay for him, but I think that he's got room to improve because he brings those elements to his game and that electric style of play. So I think he's got a really high ceiling. I probably am a little bit biased towards him just because I love the motor. I love the athleticism. And truth be told, I kind of root and bet on a guy that is a little bit undersized but plays with that edge, plays like he's got something to prove. It makes you, in my opinion, that much better of a football player. I would take that mentality over an extra, couple inches and 20 more pounds. I think it's so much more valuable.
Yeah, and like I said, I had him at 6, and I love him. It's like there's not much to dislike about him. You watch his tape, and he just flashes constantly, and I'm with you. Like, that's part of another reason why I love this class. I said I love my top 3, but I love a guy like Torian York, who I've got at 6. I've got Whit Weeks, I think is very good. Deontay Lawson, I gushed about. It's just like I like the top end of this class, and you're lucky to sometimes have 2 to 3 linebackers you feel good about. I feel good about
Correct.
So many guys on this list, including my number 2 from the Ohio State University Crypt Keeper.
Homer.
He got here just in time for me to have Sonny Styles at number 2. I should have put him at 1 just for Crypt Keeper. But 6'4", 237, senior linebacker, but still very young because he graduated high school early. Like, he should have still been in high school. He decided to reclassify, go to Ohio State a year early, converted safety. Last year was really his first full-time playing linebacker. You talk about football family. We talked about that earlier with Barton. His dad played linebacker in the NFL. His brother is going to be the starting nickel corner, Lorenzo Styles Jr. at Ohio State, who was a former wide receiver for Notre Dame. So huge football family there. The production last year, he had 100 tackles. He had 6 sacks. So a guy that can flat out get after the quarterback, and he's got the size and length to hold up really well if you wanted to put him on the edge for a couple plays here and there. So there's just a lot I like about him. Now, I will say as converted safety and just as an Ohio State fan, before I dive back into the tape, the coverage has been too inconsistent. Like, he's got to be better, and it does worry you a little bit when a guy is 6'4" also, because you worry about, well, how good's your feet, how good's that lateral agility type stuff when you're at that height and size and you're asked to get on a linebacker like against Texas where you got roasted a little bit trying to guard.
That's the thing I think about him is like, I think obviously like the move is because of how dynamic he can be in the box. But, if you just don't have the chops to be a coverage safety, I get it. But you should still at that point be like taking over games as a coverage linebacker.
And he's not awful in that area. The more I had him like even as a Buckeye fan, so I was like when it started, I probably had him at linebacker 5. And then as I watched more of it, and specifically the Texas game, when I rewatched and clipped the Texas game, I was like, holy shit, I didn't realize just how good he was. And he gave up those plays, to Jaden Blue in the passing game, a play here or there, but he was utterly dominant, sideline to sideline range, getting pressure on the quarterback. His coverage in general everywhere else beyond that on Jaden Blue, which Jaden Blue is like a 4-3 type quick. It is what it is. So I don't want to talk about too much.
One of the better receiving backs. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But I love Styles so much, and surprisingly, like I didn't expect to, and then I'm like, the more I watched, I'm like, I think I was too harsh on him as a Buckeye fan, and I dove back in and I'm like, holy shit, and that's his first year at linebacker. And there's just not many guys that are almost 6'5", 240. So, like, the upside is still there. And your second year going into linebacker. So, I gave him that bump. And now he's wearing the Blocko jersey for an Ohio State, which is like an honor that they do now. So him doing that shows what type of leader he is, how much he's putting in the work in the off season. And he's still, like I said, he's still young, even though he's a true senior because he came out of high school earlier. So you're talking about a guy who would basically be a true junior, and he just did all that, 100 tackles, 6 sacks, played phenomenal against Texas to go to the championship game as a guy who would have been a sophomore last year, before he reclassified. So I think there's a lot of meat on the bone still with Sonny Styles and what he could be. So I'm gushing on him, but it's pure blasphemy you had him that low. You should at least had him in your top 5. You didn't even have him in the top 5. It's pure blasphemy, but it's such a good linebacker class.
Would have, of all the linebackers, has the highest ceiling, has the most room to grow, because I think he brings so much to the table. I just want to see him continue to develop as a linebacker in that, downhill, true run defense ability, and let them coverage chop show. And to the point you're making, I didn't get a chance to see the Texas game with him specifically. I want to go back and watch that now.
Yeah, you may have to find my clip. I think I put it on Twitter too. So I clipped up him from the Texas game. There's so many plays where I'm like, holy shit, I had other Buckeyes fans that were like, I didn't realize he played that well in that game. I was like, I did not either, to be like, I really
I'm for sure gonna do that now, because Jaden Blue, that matchup right there, that's what you want to see. You're looking for that specifically. So I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah, I will give my number 1 because you already talked about Anthony Hill. I think your number 1 is very worthy to be gushed about. So Anthony Hill, 6'3", 240, true junior, athletic, physical, relentless in pursuit, instinctive. I think he's a great blitzer. That's why he has 8 sacks. But you mentioned some of the deficiencies. Like, I don't see and Matt Miller's a Texas fan, but I don't see what he's talking about him being an edge player in the NFL. I think he's a linebacker, and I think he's a damn good one. I do think he needs to improve specifically in man coverage. Like, he's got to get better in man coverage as a linebacker. And maybe that's why he's like, well, I'll just put him on the edge so he doesn't really have to cover. Maybe that's the thought from Matt Miller. I don't know. He works for ESPN, not us. So he's probably smarter than us. But he does over pursue at times. But overall, he doesn't turn 21 until February. So this guy who's played a ton of football at Texas, who's had some very good teams. He's been a centerpiece of that Texas defense already. I expect him to take another step for Texas. So that's why I have him at 1. But, man, I like all those guys. And your number 1 is C.J. Allen. And I had him at 3, and I absolutely love this guy. So I had Allen at 1 at the start of my process, to be fair, as well.
It's just he's so complete. And I think that's the thing about him is there's a handful of guys on this list that I am projecting. CJ Allen, I don't think I'm projecting. I think, you're seeing this guy that's doing it at a high level against high competition. It realistically is the kind of tape that you fall in love with because you have just a good comfort with that. We're talking about, once again, 1,000 snaps, and you mentioned it already, 6.0 missed tackle percentage.
Yeah, that's
one of the most important things you can do as a linebacker. And if you look at him on tape, he is wrapping up. He is showing a phenomenal understanding of tackle technique and the elements that go into run defense. And I kind of backtracked a little bit on Romaine when I said he's the best run defender in the class, because it realistically is CJ Allen. Romaine's good. Romaine is right there with him, but CJ Allen, what he does against top competition on, over 1,000 career snaps now, when he's thrust into a role where he's basically told from day one, hey, you're our guy. You need to hold down the fort. And he absolutely has done that. What he's able to do in coverage beyond that, I really like as well. I don't have too many reservations about him in there. And I think part of that comes from his IQ and his understanding of the game. I really like him as a zone defender. Not I wouldn't be like, hey, I need you to play man coverage on this guy here every single play. I think he's a decent athlete, but I don't think he's this freaky athlete where I might see another guy that I'd say, hey, I'd expect that more out of you. Even a Harold Perkins Jr., the athleticism of what he can do as man coverage is going to probably outshine CJ Allen. But when you let him kind of sit in the box 5-10 yards deep, zone coverage, read the quarterback, have an understanding of the game, close down in the pocket when he needs to. Those are the elements of CJ Allen's game where he really takes over and he shows why, for me, he's my number one linebacker in this class, just because of the ability to maximize everything he has, his ability to impact the game realistically on the two most important things I need from a linebacker. Is he the greatest pass rusher? No, he's not the greatest pass rusher out there. Do I need him to be the greatest pass rusher? Not necessarily. Like, I would love it, but I don't need him to be like this super study pass rusher if he's just going to be the centerpiece of my defense and come in and be like a true Mike type player. So what he brings, the high floor, the elements of his game that I think are completely translatable to the NFL is just why I'm so comfortable with him. And I think that is going to be something that resonates throughout a lot of people.
And starting as a freshman says a lot too, because it's like Georgia. you're gonna be a guy that can get everybody lined up. You know what you're doing, but you can help everybody else.
Yes,
know what they're doing, and I think that's so important for a linebacker. That's the type of stuff I love in a linebacker. So there's just a lot to like with CJ Allen. A big fan of his. The only thing I guess to be a knock is that he was teammates with that piece of shit Carson Beck. I hadn't got it in this episode, so I wanted to get in the Carson Beck hate, which probably going to help him win the Heisman. To be fair,
I will say I think there's a clip out there where Deontay Lawson absolutely lit up Carson Beck. I think that does exist, and so we can kind of toss that in there because I definitely watched the Georgia tape because I've watched Bama versus Georgia in 2024.
Yeah, 800 times.
Like, in all seriousness, I think I've watched that game 36 times. Ridiculous.
Some of it's talent, man. You got to focus on
everyone on that field in that game is probably going to get drafted.
All right, the rundown. So there's some guys like Perkins. I mentioned Braylon Wilson, who will be in here. But next guy I've got on my list is Jason Barham. Was originally at Maryland, now at Michigan. 6'3", 241. Thickly built, run-stuffing linebacker. He can rush the passer. There was talk of him moving to the edge. I don't know. I think they'll just use that in packages. A bit underwhelmed for his tape. Some people talk about him as a top 10 linebacker. I don't quite see it, but maybe he takes a leap this year. You got anything on Barham, or we'll move on?
I do not have anything on Barham. He's not even on my list, so I'm going to have to add him in there.
And then Wade Woodaz, 6'3", 230, former safety for Clemson. Fantastic in coverage. Good sack production, but it's more effort and awareness than it is any kind of bag of pass rush moves. Anything on Wade Woodaz?
No, over 2 so far, Dale. You're stumping me here.
Well, it doesn't get easier. It doesn't get easier. But hey, that's all right. I just give you names. I give everyone names here in the rundown. It's the rundown, you know. Ernest Hausman, another Michigan player, 6'1", 221. Actually, might have liked his tape better. He's just a lot smaller than Barham. So he played one season at Nebraska. It's his third year at Michigan. He's an inside linebacker, speed, awareness, physicality. He could be a big riser this year. He's also a guy who's, I'm terrible. He's from another country. I don't know which country. I should probably remember that if I'm going to mention it, but I'm mentioning it anyways. And he's has gone back and built clean water wells for where he's from and all this stuff. So cool. A high character guy. Yep. Sorry, I forgot where you're from, Ernest Hausman, but I wanted to give you your love for that too. Devin Jackson, Oregon, 6'2", 230. Oregon's weird with their linebackers. They rotate a lot. And I've got two guys on here. I've got him and Bocher back to back. Bocher is a two-sport star, plays baseball at Oregon too, 6'1", 226. Both guys played a lot of special team snaps. Bocher, really good coverage guy, awareness. I think he loves football. I think he's been drafted to play in the pros for baseball in the past, but I think he wants to play in the NFL, and at worst, I think he'll be a special teams guy. So a couple Oregon linebackers. Xavier Sori's a guy I kind of had in the draft guide last year. 6'2", 228, but pass rush demon, good athlete, plays for Arkansas. Dasan McCullough, 6'5", 235. Best season was back in 22 at Indiana. Then he went to Oklahoma and had a couple disappointing seasons, and he's transferring now to Nebraska. So we'll see what he does. but he's a guy who's kind of played some safety. He's played some linebacker. So a little bit of that. You get these 6'5" guys, it seems like you're kind of figuring out what to do with them, like with Sonny Styles.
Yeah, trying to play around with them a little bit.
Yeah, and Jason Henderson, who our guy Ryan Sparks mentioned, I got him on the list. He missed basically all of last season due to an injury. He's from Old Dominion, so small school, 6'1", 225, undersized, but good Lord, to go watch the tape in 2022 and 2023. He's one of the most productive linebackers in the country. So if you want like your Sean Dolak, go watch Jason Henderson from 2022 and 2023 because I got to keep him on my list just because of that, even though he missed all of last season. And that's why he's back in college. And then I got Jake Galday, who's 6'4", 237, lower level competition, transferred to Cincinnati last year. This will be his second season with Cincinnati. So give Cincinnati a little love. I'm a Buckeye fan, so I don't really care about that. But he just lacks physicality even at that size, and that really disappoints me. But very good athlete for that size. Maybe he has a bigger season because he was very good at lower competition. Might have been Arkansas State or somewhere. But that's my rundown. Who was your 11th guy, by the way? You said you watched
Michael Harris out of Maryland, who was
I've got him at 27. Tell me about him. I haven't
totally
watched it.
Fair. So
I haven't watched him.
Very limited snaps. Less than 350 snaps. I think he sees the ball carrier really well, moves downhill, good, the fluid mover, the tackle technique is there. You see it backed up in the numbers and the burst. So like all of that explosiveness is there. The problem for him, he's got a small frame. He's 6 foot, 223 pounds, which unfortunately is kind of like the detriment for a handful of guys in here. While the tackle technique between the tackles is really good, open field, I don't think he's got that athleticism laterally to, be able to keep up with a guy that makes a one-step cut and is able to kind of get to his side. And then because of the size, he's just washed out by linemen. But Michael Harris did come in 11 for me. I've also got on here, not necessarily ranked. I mentioned Deion Crawford, edge linebacker. I think he's going to be more of a linebacker off ball in the league. He's only 6'1", but Buffalo played him like 75% of their snaps at edge. So I got him. You mentioned Drake Bowen for next year. Kip Lewis out of Oklahoma.
Yeah. That's a good prospect too. I've got him in 27, but he could come out this year too.
Yep. And then also out of Oklahoma, Samuel Osumi. I can't say it.
I have no idea either.
Samuel Omosigho. Yeah. Once again, could be definitely another 2027 guy.
That's where I have him for now, but yeah.
Both BYU linebackers, Jack Kelly and Isaiah Glasker, are a couple really fun guys that have the ability, I think, to kind of show out a little bit. Glasker coming in at 6'5", 235, and then Kelly 6'1" and 3/8, but 242 pounds, verified. Ooh. So you really like that. And then I think Aiden Fisher is the last one I have on the list out of Indiana.
Yeah, yep. I haven't got eyes. I don't know if I got him. Is he a senior or?
He is a senior this year. Yep.
Okay. I need to probably watch more of him to decide where I got him. But yeah, good list, man. Good shit. Appreciate it. Appreciate everybody that tuned in. Crip, I appreciate you calling me a homer. OH, go Sonny Styles. What does Wisconsin say? They just do jump around in the fourth quarter. Do you guys have like a chant or anything?
It's just jump around. It's not like it's not a chant like that. No,
yeah, not like you don't just walk by people and go OH and somebody goes IO when you're out in public. That's not a thing.
No, and nothing. I mean, nothing like that. Put a little polka on, roll up the barrel starts rolling out of everyone's mouth, but nothing like that.
All right, that's fair. Well, hey, it's almost here, man. Like
it is.
We're
in week 0. We're in week 0 right now. We've got a top
Saturday, right?
This weekend.
And what time is that game?
I would hope like prime time.
I'm going to the fucking Bengals preseason game, and they're not even playing players because, like, my buddy Chop, who does the show with me, gave me his tickets. I usually take my daughter. She's 15 now, but we've gone for like 3 or 4 years. I used to have season tickets up till this year, and I've always taken her to preseason because it's a lot less rowdy. And he was like, "Oh, if you want it." So it's like I'm going to that game, but I'm like, I'm so mad because this week there's multiple games throughout the day too.
Is Is the Bengals, because that's on Saturday, is it an evening game?
At 1. It's a Saturday at 1.
Ugh.
I know, and I'm 2 hours away, so it's like I already plan on leaving at halftime, stopping at Midwest, who's a sponsor of this show, Midwest Best Barbecue, because that's amazing food, and getting some of those Grippo wings. But
yeah,
I won't be home. 2 more hours home.
Noon.
Like
it's a noon game.
Yeah, I'm fucked. Yeah, I know. Yeah, week 0. But I will say the following Saturday, I got Ohio State and Texas. I know that at noon on the 30th. So, holy shit. I don't feel good about that game as a Buckeye fan. I'll say that. But
hey, first time the number one ranked team has ever entered their first game as the underdog. So you got that to put in your hat.
Yeah, I feel like that's even worse. Like, I don't love that. Like, I would rather that number one team be the favorite, you know?
Just coming in as like a 4-point underdog. Like, you got a little bit of edge. I get that.
Yeah. All right, man. Thank you all for tuning in. This has been amazing. Like I said, we'll try to do corner safeties. We're going to chat about that off air.